Hi, I'm Heidi Ep.13, and here we are for another awesome session of Creating Exploring with Heidi Hurley. I'm here to encourage you. That's why we're here. You know what? I want you to explore, try new materials, try something different, and that's what this is about. There's no mistakes, no fears, no worries. That's why you're here, right? I hope. And today, what we're going to be doing is covering monochromatic colors. Isn't that exciting? Monochromatic, not monochromatic or monotone, but monochromatic, which means one, mono, chromatic, which is color. So we're going to be doing one monochromatic paintings. And so what does that mean? We are going to take one hue and we are going to create dark and light using black and using white. So that's what we're going to be doing today. It's to create a mood or to have something really effective happen when you're trying to create a painting. So this is what we're going to be doing and exploring today. It's really fun. I just had open studio today. Fred, we had a blast, didn't we? You all did this. This is really awesome. And I have some samples to tell you all about when we're doing this. So no mistakes. I want you to explore. There's no goofing or anything. I mean, if you goof, just start all over again and have some fun with it. Quick review about materials. I just want to talk about what I'm going to cover with you today. You can try lots of different things, but what we're going to be doing is using watercolor. And in watercolor, you don't use white paint. In watercolor, if you remember from sessions before, we're going to use more water to make it be more transparent. And I will show you about how we're going to do that. So we're going to be doing with that. And then we're going to switch with acrylic. So I'm going to cover two things. Acrylic dries fast and it's kind of fun to work with. So I'm going to use the acrylic, and what we're going to be doing is using black and white to mix to make our colors. So colors, tones, or whatever. One of the biggest things that I want to make sure that you understand that when we're talking about color, we're talking about hue, the absolute hue. So blue, which is in some of the samples except for one of them here, was the main color. It was the main color. That's what we used, was blue and mixed white with black. And then on this little sample that I have here, this one is yellow. I think you can see it. But this one was done with watercolor, and it was done with white and yellow and black to create the colors that you can see here. So that's what we're going to be covering today with the whites and the blues and the yellows. We're going to just have so much fun. So how do you get started? What are you going to do? I said I'd start with watercolor. So I'm going to start with watercolor today, and what you would need is a piece of paper. And I thought of something that I would teach you that is so exciting. It was like, some people are trying to figure this out, and I was like, it's really simple, so I'm going to go through this. If you want to have a nice white margin around the edge of your picture, and you want it to be even, like the one that I just showed you is not even, but this one is, then what you want to do is use painter's tape or masking tape. And I'm going to put this on top of my white board that I have here. And what I'm going to do is I am going to, this is 1 inch, so I'm going to have a 1 inch margin all the way around. And I'm going to go right to the edge of the paper. And I'll hold this up so you can see this. But I'm going to take the masking tape, and it's right to the edge. Okay, so it's right there. And I'm going to go all the way around, not worrying too much about sticking it to the board. And I'm going to do that really kind of quickly here so you can see it. And I want to, the reason why I go to the edge is because the edge is straight normally, usually, if you take it off of a pad. And that keeps that part from getting paint on it when you're painting. And then, after I've done all 4 sides, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put one more quick one so it sticks to the board. I can go all the way around. So you're masking. You're keeping the paper clean. And I'll do this also probably for the acrylic one. But when we're doing this, there we go. It's really nice. So let's talk a little bit about this, because what I want to do is just go through this and kind of show you what we're going to be doing. I'm going to use watercolor. I'm going to use one color. I'm going to use violet for this. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a watercolor brush, my watercolor palette. I have clean water and a paintbrush. And I'm only going to be using violet and black because white isn't there. And I'm going to put some colors on the outside here so you can see it. So some of the paint, I mean. So I'm going to use a violet. I'm going to wet. This is my watercolor set. I could have used a tube. And here's my pure color. Now remember, if I make it really about a light cream, I'm just going to put it on this paper here. It's going to drip a little, but you'll see it. It's pretty solid, and it's a nice, dense, dark color. The more water that I add to it, it's going to get lighter, obviously. Maybe not. But notice how it's going to get lighter as I add more water. This is, our white is the paper. Okay, so we're using the paper to make it white. Okay, so if I want to make it darker, I'm going to use a black. And I'm just going to put this black up here so you can see it, and I can get it really, really dark. And with this, I'm going to start to add, with my black, I'm going to add the purple. Same thing. More purple, black, and it's going to work its way down so that you're going to be to very little. Do you see how it works its way down? So I could do a painting just with that one color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this up, and I'm going to show a little bit of atmospheric perspective. So when you look at a mountain range, the further away that mountain range is, the mountains are lighter, and the ones that are closer to you, they're going to be darker. So with using this monochromatic color palette that I have here, I can create a mountain range. Because it's watercolor and it doesn't dry fast, I'm going to work kind of quickly on here just to show you. So I'm going to start, make sure my brush is clean, and I'm just going to brush clear water here, and I'm going to use the lightest that I can with this purple, and I'm just going to take it, and you can hardly see it, and just kind of let that dry. Let it drip. Hardly see it. It's my sky. All right, so I've got that. And then in the background, I've got a range of mountains. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix a little bit of the black and the violet. And it's going to just get a little bit so far back that we can hardly see it, but I'm just going to take, and these are way back. All right, so I've got that range, and I'm going to get a little bit more intense. I'm going to use more color maybe, and a little bit more black. And it's wet. I don't care if it drips at all, but I'm going to add a little bit more here. And I'm using a flat brush because I like to challenge myself. But you see what I'm doing? And now I'm going to go into this. And maybe get a little bit. And I think that that needs a little bit more black, just to bring it up. The Smoky Mountains or something. Right now, I was just looking up in Maine. They've got snow up there. It looks awesome. All right, so I've got that. So what's going to be in front here? This is snow. I'm going to make that be snow. I'm very excited about that. And I'm going to stay within my monochromatic colors here. And I'm going to have a little bit more, I'm using a better brush and a little bit more black to make it more intense. And so maybe I've got a tree line that's along the lake. Oh, you know, what are those little ice houses? You know, like, I'm going to put the ice houses in there. But I've got like a tree line and there's some houses in the background there. Isn't that pretty? So whatever's closest to me is going to be the darkest. I'm going to use almost a pure black. And then maybe here, this is where I'm going to start to take the tree and it's going to come up into the picture. You know, or I've got a pine tree here. I like to draw the line for the pine tree first and then get those branches going in so they look really intense black because it's up front. You can put your branches on there. Have some people out. I can put those little houses out there, little guys. Oh, what are those things? The snowmobiles. But so you can see how it can, anything that's up front, really intense. And I'm going to put some of that dark purple in front. And then there's maybe some grass. So you can see how we can really have some fun with this with watercolor. So this is just watercolor. I don't like that tree. What do you guys think? I'm gonna go work on that tree. It's not going anywhere. Fred, what do you think? There we go. All right, so it needs a bird. Gonna stick a bird on there. I love these little birds sitting on the top of the branch here, and he's gonna have a little head. There he is. So again, this is a monochromatic quick. I think, what did I spend? Maybe 8 minutes on this? So it's a monochromatic watercolor that at the atmospheric perspective that makes me look like it's got the illusion of going into the background. I've got my bird sitting there. He's saying, what the heck are you doing? So we've got the bird, we've got the mountains, we've got this beautiful little, there's snow on there. I guess I need to put like a snowdrift maybe. Anyway, if you see what I mean with the watercolor, we've got our study that's here. And I could do this with any color at all. I could have done it in blue. I could have done it in, maybe it's fall. And maybe I'm doing it in oranges and reds. One of the group from our, Janice, who's in my open studio, she remembers doing it with sepia. So sepia is a brown color. So she just used sepia, white, and black, which is a classic. So you could create some sort of a picture from that. I think if I were to crop this, I might crop it like that. But again, really fun. It was exploring, trying something out with the watercolor. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go into it and I'm going to do what I loved. I mean, it looks like all I like are trees, but I'm going to do the same thing, but this time we're going to use acrylic. Acrylic dries faster and you can work on top of it. And so the scene is from my head. It's just something that I imagine every time I do this. But again, it's monochromatic, one color, which creates this beautiful moonlit night kind of a feeling. And what is the weirdest, craziest thing is I was down in my basement getting all my materials together for this, and I found my dad's picture. And my dad did this, which is a monochromatic picture. It's acrylic. It's done, I think it's supposed to be Toddy Pond or something up in Maine. But one of the things that I really love about this is, number one, it's got the atmospheric perspective with the trees in the background, and then it's got the more intense trees in the front coming forward. So I always critiqued my dad. He's no longer alive. My dad was an art teacher, and we used to really give each other a hard time, but I hated his rocks. I always thought that he did I mean, to everybody, they look great, I'm sure, but these rocks to me didn't look like rocks. I always used to say, your rocks look like marshmallows. Can I do better? No, I don't think so, but I just needed to find something. In almost all of his paintings, he would have one of these big pine trees dipping into the pond, always. It's like his signature. Maybe this was a study, for whatever it was that he was doing. So this is a sample that he did probably for a class. And then after looking at this, I'm like, whoa, this would be perfect for tonight. And then today I did this one, which isn't half as nice as his. But today during our little studio, again, monochromatic, I used a ultramarine blue, and I used a fat brush. I am not kidding. All I did was use this fat brush with this and played with it. It was really a lot of fun. And at the end of it, I added a polymer gloss. And this is the polymer gloss. It's a matte medium. This is the matte medium, but I do have polymer gloss. When you put polymer gloss over acrylic, it gives it a luster shine, and it's glossy. So if from a distance you probably can't see it, but what happens is that it looks like it's a frosty night and the moon is shining. So that's another fun thing that you can add to your pictures. And then as a bonus, we made little mini-me's. I don't know if the camera can see this, but this is so teeny tiny. This is all the thing, and then you stick, oh, there you go. There we go. So when we look at these, then they're little itty bitty teeny weeny, and it goes with my other one, so I made like a little series. So fun. All right, so we want to talk, you want to work, or you want to see me work. So what we're going to do is, we're going to do the same thing, but now we're going to do acrylic. So I'm going to start again, and I'm just going to rip this baby off so that you can see it. Oh, you want to see the real nice edge. That's the best part of this. So being an artist, one of my favorite things to do is to peel away this tape, because it's like so satisfying. If you don't get the correct tape, or sometimes if you take it off too soon, I want to turn it so you can see it. So if you pull it off too soon, sometimes it rips the paper. But right now I have perfectly made a margin around my painting, and it's ready to frame after I sign it. So here you go. So real quickie. It'll look pretty, doesn't it? I need to keep working on it. So, all right, so let's go to acrylic. I'm very excited. So for acrylic, I'm going to use a paper plate. Why do I use a paper plate versus the palette? First of all, it has like a dish to it so that I can add water to it and it won't fall out. These have like a wax coating so that it won't come off. Like it won't stick to it and it won't soak through. And I can throw it away at the very end, which makes life even better. So what I'm going to do is I am going to do the same taping thing, and I'm going to work quickly because you don't want to hear me talking. Actually, you do. What do you want me to talk about? Oh, you know what? Open studios at the Art Center, Braintree Community Art Center. We have a fun group. We all work on things, and I teach it the same way that we're doing these videos. What I do is I just tell everybody to have fun and try it. I want you to try things. I think people are afraid. I don't know why afraid to try things. Someone had asked me, have I always been like this? Yes. I think you need to try it. It's like having a meal that you don't want to, or a food that you don't want to taste. You won't know unless you try it, right? You don't know. So if a material doesn't work for you, then don't use it. Don't use that material again, but you won't know unless you try it. And then people say, well, I can't draw. Well, you know, you don't have to. You can have a lot of fun with it, and you can just, like, you know, use a sponge and play with the colors. You know, have a blast. I have too much fun, I think. All right, almost done here. So I'm going to be using a lighter blue with the acrylic so you can see the differences instead of the violet. I'm going to use white acrylic and I'm going to use black acrylic. Now, acrylics, as we all know, they don't look the color of whatever's in the tube. So when I hold up this blue and it says it's cerulean blue hue, you're going to think it's going to come out the color that's here. A lot of people think that. So this is a phthalo blue. This is a very dark blue. I'm not going to use it, but I just wanted to show you the way that we have that. So I'm going to take this blue and I'm going to put, and it's a lighter blue, I'm going to put this on the plate. And then I'm going to take black. Now there's different types of black. There's ivory black, there's lamp black, there's all different types of blacks to play with. And then I'm just going to use a titanium white. Does it matter what brand? No, not for this. Can you use all different types of paint brushes? Yes, you can. Should you work quickly? Yes, you probably should, because acrylic does dry kind of quickly. I'm going to leave this blue out because I think that I'm going to need some more. So now I can do this the same way I did the watercolor. I can do a study, but instead of adding lots more water, I'm going to add white to this. So I'm just going to push this over a little bit and just kind of give you the demo. So what I'm going to do is use a stiffer brush, and I've got my clean water. And so I'm going to take the pure blue, and I'm just going to go in the middle like that's here so that I can see that pure blue. So one of the things that you've got to be careful with is make sure that your water's clean, because when I go into white, I want it to stay pure white. So for this, just for demonstration purposes, I'm going to grab some pure white. I'm just going to grab another brush, and I'm going to put the pure white down here. So that's a pure white, and then I'm going to take and I'm going to add pure black at the top. All right, so I've got pure black, pure white. So well, it's not halfway, but you get what I mean. So what I would do is only take a little bit, little tiny touch of the blue. I'm going to mix that maybe on my palette and start adding a little more blue as I go on with the white of my brush. And get closer and closer until I get to that blue that it matches. So the gradation. So I could actually take my brush and mix and blend those together. You see how I'm working with the colors? So as I'm doing that, so then you're going to do the same thing, but this time, if I start with a very, very tiny touch of black and mix it with my blue, and I don't want white in there. Let's go back into that. I'm going to cover that over. And I'll tell you why I don't want white in there, because it gets muddy and it turns into a tone. So try not to have the white. And then mix my blue. So what I was mentioning was, if I take this white and that black, I'm going to get a gray. So here's my black, and I'm going to take a little bit of white and I'm going to get gray. If I add some of the blue to that, it's going to get muddy. It's not going to be the monochromatic study, and what it's going to do is it's not going to be a pure hue. It's going to be a value, dark and light, so it's going to have that's going to start to happen with it. It's called tone when you're adding gray. So you really want to, I mean, you can use it, but when you're mixing your palette to make your pure monochromatic colors, that you want to stay within the hue, which is the blue and the white. All right, so I'm going to treat this very similar to what I did with my watercolor study, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a scene. So am I going to have trees and the moon and the stars and the mountains? Sure. Is it daytime or is it nighttime? Let's think about this. I'm going to make it daytime. I'm going to kind of go in the same direction that I did just a little while ago, and I'm going to keep it daytime with the blues. So I'll really hardly be using any of this black, but this is going to be fun. So you can use water just like you would with the acrylic to thin it out. And I'm going to start with some white with the water, and I'm going to have a little bit of blue, and I'm going to mix that with the water. And the same thing that I did with the watercolor, I'm going to just kind of brush the water, fresh, clean water, on here, just to give it kind of a palette. Wet paper, some sort of ground, and I'm going to make my sky. I really want a light blue. So the same, oh my, oh, look at that, look at those clouds. That is so cool. So I'm just going to kind of, oh my gosh. Good thing I went for the daytime, right? This is awesome. So I'm going to go, Fred, what do you think? Fred's going to go crazy. There we go. All right. Good. So I'm going to it's going to dry fast, so it works out pretty good. So we remember in the background, I'm using the blues. The way background for atmospheric for the mountain range, I'm going to add a little bit more blue. Not much. And I'm going to make that mountain range way in the background. Because it's so wet, I'm just going to grab this paper towel and kind of cinch up. There we go. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to, it's almost too light for me, too dark for me. Let's get a little bit darker for the next one. Notice I can work on this pretty much right away. And then I'm going to get even a little more intense. So what have I got? I have a mountain range that goes into the background. I think that first one, the way in the background, I think what I might want to do with that is have it not be so, oh, it's actually okay. I might have added a little more water to it to make it go like so. So now what I'm going to do is make a really intense blue, just very similar to what I did before with the trees. There's a tree line. Maybe there's a little house somewhere. That's nice. I feel like I'm there. This is really cool. So again, I'm going to take this, I'm going to go to my lighter brush that I have, make sure the water's clean. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just do a really, really, really light blue for the ice on the pond. And you might have a couple tricks up your sleeve. You might be able to go up to New Hampshire or Maine and go really look at your own little spot that you have there. So I'm going to add more detail now, which is going to be my fun part of this. Everything's fun. So but what I'm going to do, because it is, because we are snowing, I'm going to put some snow on those hills. And I'm just going to use pure white. Added some white. Maybe there's a trail somewhere. All right, and I'm going to go into it and finesse that line that's in the background. Awesome. So in the front here, I've got some snow-covered trees or branches or something that I'm going to be working with. I love this brush, so maybe I'll just, no. Oh, I'm so indecisive. So I'm going to go ahead and make, a birch tree. Oh, yes. We're going to use white. I'm going to make this birch tree come straight down. Again, this is monochromatic, one color. Maybe do another one. I'll just stick with. Right, so what do we have with our birch trees? We have the little darkness, and then on one side of it, maybe the light is hitting just a little bit better. And then I'm going to use my fine brush, and I'm going to make some branches. Do we need a bird? I think so. And this is kind of, I'm like, hey Dad, I don't have any rocks here. Maybe I'll put a rock in just for him. But again, if like monochromatic, maybe I've got some light branches and I've got some maybe leaves that haven't fallen off yet. Get that rock over there. Let's get a rock in. Look at that. Monochromatic. One color. Have some branches. We need that bird that I had in there before, right? So we're going to put a little bird sitting right on this branch right here. He's singing. There he is. Pretty cool, huh? So I think we need to see what this, I did this fast, guys. This was really a quickie, but I love the fact that I've got two different things going on here. So I've got this, but what else could I do to it to make it more fun or to make it be really awesome? You guys are gonna think I'm crazy, but if I take white paint and a paintbrush, I could make it start to snow. So here's my white paint. going to make it kind of wet. A cold frost just happened. And I'm just going to take my brush and I'm going to flick it. The bird is like going crazy. He's saying, no, it's starting to snow. But look how fun that is, right? We're having a little bit of fun with taking that. And then the other thing that I could do is maybe take this sponge that I have and go into it and do some, some of the clouds and go into that. Get an even more fine paintbrush and go in there and even add some more details. So let's take a recap for a second here. We've got a couple of things to discuss. Number one, monochromatic. Mono meaning one color, hue, a solid hue, black and white being added to make it so that you can have a mixture of colors. The two that we did today, we did just kind of the same scene, but that's not a birch tree. I probably could have done that. But we've got the mountain range here. We've got the same thing over here. I'm going to pull the tape off so you get a chance to see the two, the way that they work. And again, this is still a little wet, but what happens is that, as I said before, multiple times, acrylic dries pretty quickly. So we'll have a good color mix, unless I pull it off and, nothing like a nice clean line. So we're going to take that and pull this one down. So painter's tape you can get anywhere. There are some inexpensive brands that do stick to your papers, but they work fine if you're just doing some exploring, kind of like what we're doing here. That came out nice. So here we go. We've got monochromatic study 1, monochromatic study 2, and they both were done with one color. Does that one need some, I don't know if it'll stick, but we'll put it up there. Excellent. Oops. There we go. So again, all I want to make sure that I do for all of you is to talk, I mean, this was quick. You can spend more time, add more detail, stick some people out there, make a house, do whatever it is that you need to do. But on my end, my part is really pretty much finished as far as that goes. I was going to try to do a winter's night. If I did a winter's night, I might use the dark for the background and the glow, very similar to what I was doing with some of the others that we were doing. Look at night, day, night, day. Just as a side note, so if you add a contrasting color, and we talked last week about complementary colors and contrasting colors. So I did a monochromatic study, which was the phthalo green with black and white. And then the contrasting color is the red. So if I were to do this one, maybe I'd add the contrasting yellow, maybe put some yellow leaves in there or put some orange leaves in there. It really, I mean, it's not monochromatic anymore, but your base is monochromatic, and then you start to add some other fun things. So I was telling Fred in the group, like, I don't really like it, but maybe it make nice note cards, or something. I cut it up. So if you get a note from me and it has this on here, you'll know where it came from. All right, so let's recap a little bit, talk about what we did so that you can understand and where you can go with this. Monochromatic, one color, and then I'm adding white, which is highlight, black, which is shadow. So in watercolor, you can use white watercolor, but you would use more water to make it work so that you could have light to dark. You can do a study just on experimenting with all the different colors to see the range that you can get. Can you only do it in paints? No, you can use colored pencils. You can use crayons. You can use all types of materials. I wish that I had them in front of me. I'd show you. Colored pencils are wonderful. I could go into this right now and I could take a purple colored pencil and really start adding some detail, or some of the blue that was there, and start adding some of the detail that was there. All right, so let's take this, and I'm going to go one more step. One of the things I like to do is to crop a picture. So say I have a picture frame that I bought, and this is the mat that's on the inside. I could take this and find a nice composition just using this. Maybe I don't want the whole picture. Maybe I just want a little section of the birds singing with the mountains in the background. Or here, ooh, that's, because I don't really like that pine tree too much. But maybe I go into this and start to go like that. So there's some nice things that you can do if you do a piece and you don't love it, you can find something somewhere and save that, right? You could do that. Okay, let's see. One more thing, I guess we can just talk about, can you use any other materials? Yes, you can use the colored pencils. Yes, you can use crayons. Yes, you can use gouache. We were talking about that before. What would I do to enhance this? I already mentioned I could maybe use colored pencils, or I could go ahead and add a complementary color. All right, so I'm going to end this session. And I'm just going to tell you that if you have any comments or suggestions or anything that you want to add or see me introduce so that you can try it, please reach out to BCAM or comment on the YouTube where you are. Reach out. My name's Heidi Hurley, and I would absolutely love to hear from you. I'd love to have some guests. Maybe you want to come in. Maybe you want to sit and join me. That would be kind of fun. All right? So for now, this is Heidi Larson Hurley. I'm signing off right now for Exploring and Creating, and have a great week.